What's up, YouTube? Welcome to ExceedTheHype.com. It's your boy Lucrecio coming at you with another video. Alright, today's video is entitled The Los Angeles Clippers Are the Perfect Match for Kyrie Irving. So we all have heard the Kyrie Irving drama. A lot of it is more just his preference as far as going on and to do the rest of his career or whatever. But you know, media outlets or whatever are hyping it up as Kyrie versus LeBron. Oh, he hates LeBron. This blah 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 blah. All that aside, all right, he had 4 teams that he wanted to go to. He said San Antonio, Minnesota, Miami Heat, and the 4th team were the New York Knicks, right? All 4 of those teams are kind of awkward matches. San Antonio, he really wouldn't be the star, and also San Antonio doesn't really love players who ISO a whole lot, so I don't see how that makes sense. I think he just likes Popovich. Minnesota would be interesting, but once again, it would be difficult on a team with Karl Anthony Towns and a team with Jimmy Butler, with Thibodeau as a coach preaching defense. It's going to be difficult, in my opinion, for Kyrie Irving to be the main star on that team, but we'll see. They would be a good team, though. They would win a whole lot of games, so that's one situation. New York is ridiculous. I understand he may want to go play in front of his home-ish type crowd or whatever because he's from Jersey or whatever. Well, from Australia, but I think grew up in Jersey or whatever. But that doesn't really make any sense. And then Miami doesn't really make any sense. Miami's not going to do anything unless he just wants to be reunited with Dion Waiters, which they didn't even make that great of a combination when they played together. So those 4 teams suck, basically, for Kyrie Irving. I don't know why those are his preferred teams, but those teams do not really fit what he's trying to do. The team that I feel like fits what he is trying to do, based on the reports of the meeting that he had with the Cleveland front office, is the Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers fill every gap that he's asking for, that every weakness that he feels Cleveland has right now. Los Angeles will be strong and will be better for his career. So let's talk about why. Number 1, I think there is a high, I don't want to say bust potential because it's not like he's a draft pick or anything like that. He's been around. We know what he can do. But with his skill set, we don't know how that translates to being the leader of your team, right? Especially if there's not another dependable star on that team. So I think it would be a bad idea to go to a team like the Knicks or even the Heat or whatever. If he was to go to the Los Angeles Clippers, he would already have another star, bona fide star or whatever, and Blake Griffin on that team, and possibly DeAndre Jordan, just depending on what kind of deal they can get in place to get him, right? Obviously, that's not going to be, it would need to be a 3rd or maybe a 4th team involved in that, but if you paired him with, let's just say Blake Griffin right now. If you paired him with Blake Griffin, I think Blake Griffin's game would be elevated. Because one thing I really do think, and Chris Paul is a great point guard, amazing point guard. I would never say anything negative about Chris Paul, but I really think Chris Paul dumbs down his teammates' offensive skill sets, basically. So Chris Paul is such a great point guard and such a control freak, which there's a little bit of control freak in every, great point guard or whatever. But Chris Paul is so much of a control freak or whatever that he has to create or try to create everything on offense. What that does when you have a player who has a lot of talents like Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin can do a lot more on the court than we've really seen in the past couple of years or whatever. What happens is, okay, you always want Blake Griffin rolling to the rim or popping out or whatever. We didn't see a whole lot of Blake Griffin having a ball and, creating, whether it's off the dribble or back to the basket or whatever, to create his own shot. We never seen a whole lot of Blake Griffin creating plays and doing playmaking. I think Blake Griffin, and I've seen it in stretches, because once again, the Clippers had trouble staying healthy at the same time. Whenever Chris Paul is out, you see this different Blake Griffin come to play. You see a Blake Griffin who's trying to initiate the offense from the post, making good passes, making good decisions, scoring in a myriad of ways. You see this side of Blake Griffin, right, that can't exist with Chris Paul, because when Chris Paul's on the court, the best offense is to have him creating everything. So Kyrie Irving is not that Chris Paul type of a point guard. He is somebody, he does have a high usage rate as well. He will, but I feel like his usage is different. Instead of it being a situation where I'm going to dribble for 18 seconds and when you're in the correct position to finish the play, I'm going to pass you the ball and all you got to do is finish. It's more of a situation where if Kyrie Irving is holding the ball and is dribbling, trying to break down his man, that ball most likely is not coming to you unless the defense can cut him off and he has to pass out of whatever he's trying to do. But typically, he's not initiating everything on offense, right? So if he's not trying to break his man down, that ball is going to be moving around the court. So with that being the case, it will give Blake Griffin a lot more opportunities to try to create with the back to the basket, whether it's creating, easy opportunities for cutters or whatever. I can see him in a role more like Chris Webber used to with the Kings or like a Brad Miller or whatever. But I could definitely see Kyrie Irving's game fitting with Blake Griffin better than a Chris Paul and Blake Griffin fitting together. And for that, both players' games being elevated. I could totally see that. Another thing, the starlight, the spotlight. It's LA. At the end of the day, it's Los Angeles. Uncle Drew's filming a movie and he has all this different stuff. Nike athlete, one of the top sellers of shoes and this and that. LA, big market. He wouldn't be a Laker or whatever. The Lakers are always going to be supreme, but having Kyrie Irving, a big-time marquee name, along with Blake Griffin, would raise his stock higher or whatever. And with the fact that he has another teammate that can help him and he'd be winning, he'd get what he wants, which is that superstardom, to be seen on the same level as a John Wall or whoever else. I guess Steph Curry is also somebody who he's looking at and comparing himself to. So being in the bright lights of LA would be another factor that would basically fulfill what he's trying to fill. The void that he has in Cleveland playing second fiddle to LeBron or whatever. You would be, even though Blake Griffin's big, Kyrie Irving with his ball handling skills and his dynamic scoring and basically his ability to be a freaking nuclear missile on a basketball court or whatever, would elevate him above Blake Griffin and he'd be that man. He'd be the man in LA or whatever. Or the man on the LA Clippers. So that's another reason, that spotlight in LA. Also, I think another reason why it would fit perfectly with what he's doing, I think Kyrie looks at Steph Curry. I think he looks at Damian Lillard. I think he looks at all the point guards who are seen as like the superstars of their team, and he feels like he's in that group. And he couldn't really be in that group as long as he's LeBron's sidekick, so he wants to be on his own. And that's fair. But because of that mentality, I feel like he's developing a little bit of a rivalry with those guys, with the Damian Lillards and the Steph Currys. We tried to see it with Kyle Lowry, but it didn't really work with Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's older, and plus Kyrie would outperform him, and the Cavs would easily beat the Raptors. John Wall is one, but I think John Wall is a bad rival for Kyrie to have because, I mean, they're not similar players. John Wall is closer to the true point guard side of the spectrum. And also John Wall, in head-to-head matchups, it's not even close. John Wall kills Kyrie every single time. So, with that being said, him being out west, he gets to see Steph Curry 4 times a year. And how exciting would that be for both him and the viewers if that Clippers Golden State rivalry just kind of ramped right back up, and with a couple new faces, with Blake Griffin being able to be a little bit more playmaker like Draymond Green or whatever, because they have that situation going on. And then Kyrie Irving typically does get the best of Steph Curry when they are in a one-on-one facing each other. I just feel like that would be a great situation for the NBA. It would be a great situation for Kyrie Irving. It would be a great situation for the fans. It would be a great situation for Blake Griffin. And it would definitely be a great situation for LA. So I don't understand exactly why LA isn't the top name, because I feel like LA, of all the teams, should be going after Kyrie Irving the hardest, because they're the team with the most to gain by adding his skill set to that team, they would become a lot better right away. Whereas if you add Kyrie to the Knicks, they're still going to win like 20 games next year. If you add them to the Heat, I don't think they'll be as good as they were the second half of last season. So I still don't think the Heat are going to be that good next year. If you add him to Minnesota, Minnesota's going to be good, but he's going to kind of fade and be one of the guys in Minnesota. He's not going to stand out, in my opinion, as much as he would in LA. And San Antonio just, once again, doesn't make sense for Kyrie, in my opinion. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree that the Los Angeles Clippers are the best destination for Kyrie. Leave your comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe. All right, see you next time.